KFUG. Stick it in your ear. KFUG Community Radio. Hey, good morning. It is Paul Critz with you. Today is a Thursday. Last time I checked, it is the 9th day of September. Community service the show until noon, and then we've got KFUG Community News. Kicking things off today, I've got Mike Thornton, Persephone Rose in the studio live, as well as Amanda Hixson. Now, I've got to get the piece of paper over here. Amanda Hixson, Food Program Director of the Del Norte and Adjacent Tribal Lands Community Food Council at the Family Resource Center of the Redwoods. Did I get everything in there?
Yes.
Okay,
now,
cool. That's great.
Paul, as the producer of this show, I need you to crumble that paper a little louder.
Okay, would you like that?
I need that
you have to
fully
shuffle 'em.
on key.
Radio, it's radio similitude. How you doing today, Amanda?
I am doing well. It's really cool to be here and see all the really neat decorations on the walls.
It's kind of clubhousey.
We do have an eclectic taste. We have the Dawn of Rock on a set of bongos, overlooking a rubber chicken, which, funnily enough, the squeaker's gone. So it is a silent, screaming creature.
It's probably, somebody probably took it home.
Slightly different than the other mic in the morning.
So Amanda, how are things what's going on at the Food Council? What have you guys been up to?
Well, we have a lot of exciting things going on. We are doing a Harvest Box launch, and what that's going to be is a box of all sorts of delicious food that's produced right here in Del Norte County, and people are able to subscribe to a box. We're doing a pilot program that's going to be 8 weeks long, and people can subscribe for the boxes to be delivered to their houses. That's or really cool. Picked up at the Family Resource Center of the Redwoods. They're going to have produce, sprouts, tomatoes, eggs, dairy, different types of cheese and meats and fish, baked bread. And so we're really excited about that program.
I had turkey hot dogs for dinner last night. Well, this sounds wonderful, actually. This sounds like you could subscribe to, it sounds like some sort of fancy online thing where you have food sent to you.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like a
local.
CSA.
Yes, definitely. It is definitely a community-supported agriculture type box. And we'll put recipes in there, so if you don't know what to do with whatever comes in the box, we'll give you some recipe ideas to make your dinner.
So this really is like a local Blue Apron or HelloFresh. Like, it comes with the recipes as well?
Pretty much. It just won't be the quantity. The HelloFresh that comes with like the little bottle of the two tablespoons
it's all
minced
very
ginger
specifically
that you
measured.
need. Yes, ours it'll just be an eclectic box, and then you can take what's in there and make some things with it from your own ideas or from ideas that we'll give you.
I think it's a bit more fun. A subscription you can get creative with.
I really like that whole idea. Where do you get the food?
So a number of different producers here in Del Norte. We're getting meat from the Woodhaven's farm from Jesse and Tara. Mm-hmm. We are getting dairy and eggs from Alexander. Mm-hmm. We're getting cheese from Rumiano. Woodhaven farm actually also has their sheep milk cheese, which is going to be really fun to highlight. And then produce from Ocean Air, tomatoes from Seabreeze, sprouts from... Sorry, I don't know the name of our new Sprouts guy. He sells at
the Sprouts guy.
Yes, he sells at the Saturday market. And then we're going to be getting baked goods from Julie Smiley, and she has a name for her operation that I don't know. And then also our new Chilean bakery they've been baking for the Saturday market.
And you didn't bring any of these boxes with you today?
I'm very sorry. You might have to subscribe.
So how does that subscription work? How can people get on the list for these?
So the best way is going to be to go to our website or our Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Our website is denatalfood.com, and you'll be able to find the link there. We are letting people sign up until September 17th. And then we will close down registration so that we can get all ready to do our first delivery on October 1st. Fridays are going to be when the boxes, we're calling them boxes, but they're actually going to be refrigerated cooler bags with our logo on the side. They're going to be really neat. People will pay for upfront, kind of like a deposit for the cooler bags, and then we'll be reusing them. And if they want to give them back at the end of the 8 weeks, they'll get the money back. Otherwise, we'll keep the money and they can keep the cool cooler bag. So Friday, October 1st will be the first week of delivery or pickup of these harvest boxes.
And who can sign up?
Anyone can sign up. And there's some flexibility and leeway in what you want to have in your box. Mm-hmm. We have some that are pre-made, so you can go on and say, hey, I like the composition of this box. This is the one I'm going to subscribe to. Or you can go on and you can select from a number of different items and make up your box exactly how you'd like it. So the price per week of the box is going to vary depending on how much you want in it. It could be $20. It could be up to $100 if you want all the bells and whistles and everything in it. Since this is a pilot and we can't go from 0 to 60 in 1 second, we are not going to be able to accept EBT and SNAP at this time, but that is our big goal. Ultimately, we're starting out with an 8-week pilot program. We're going to learn from it, make it better, and then we'd like to launch it next year, at the beginning of next year, as a year-round program. And then at that point, hopefully we will be ready and able to accept SNAP, and that will also be a huge benefit for our community.
So you've got the boxes. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, that's okay.
I know when Mike has a question, he starts moving. But I've got they're different tiers. So you can go from the Harvest Box Basic all the way up to the Bigfoot box.
Yes.
That's amazing. This is really cool.
I was browsing. It's a very impressive selection. Mike, I'll let you ask your question.
Yeah.
I have a quick thing.
My question really is, because I think about this a lot, particularly people with limited incomes, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you wind up in a position where, like, for the most part, all you can buy is like really processed stuff.
Right. It's cheap.
Garbage.
Because it's cheap and it's affordable. And so it sounds like this is a real opportunity to help people who can, to break away from some of that, at least, by getting what sounds like a pretty high quality of food.
Yes, and we do have a lot of programs. So a couple of our key objectives as a food council. One is to increase food security, or what I've been liking to call nutrition security for all of our population, and to ensure healthy, culturally appropriate food for all of our families in Donato. And we have a lot of food distribution programs. Our pantry, Pacific Pantry, the county's only choice pantry, it's open Thursdays through Saturday, and people can come there and they can pick a lot of these same items that we have in the Harvest Box. People get at the pantry. So the Woodhaven Farms meat and Ocean Air produce and Rumiano cheese and Alexander eggs and milk. All of those things are available at the pantry.
And I'm sorry, did you say it was open Thursday through Sunday?
Thursday through Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Yes, and we did just alter our hours to be more efficient. We're open Thursdays 2 to 6. That's the same as it's always been. Fridays from 2 to 4, and Saturdays 11 to 1.
Okay.
And so people that aren't able to afford healthy, fresh, delicious, nutritious food can come and they can access those products at the pantry. These boxes are really another one of our objectives of the Food Council is to grow our local food economy and to support our local farmers and to enable more producers to be able to make a livelihood from producing here in this county. And so this is kind of a shift towards focusing towards people that can and will pay more for supporting their local producers and growing their local food economy. And also for the sustainability of our programs. We're a nonprofit. We're constantly looking for grant funding or for ways to keep going and keep moving forward with all of our wonderful programs.
I have no idea what that's like.
Yeah, Paul, you've never done anything like that.
Yes, so you understand that any way that we can be creative and say, well, let's bring a little money in to keep these programs going and moving forward.
I was going to add, because it seemed like this is kind of a boutique-y thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as opposed, and I was going to ask about that delineation between helping families in need who need nutritional surety, and then spending $105 for a box full of Del Norte goodies. And I was wondering, where does that work in? But so this is a fundraising sort of endeavor, right?
In a way, yes.
In a way? Okay.
It's a way for us to be bringing in some money to pay for our staffing,
Sure.
to pay for our programs to keep going. The funding for the Donato Community Food Council for a decade has been through building healthy communities.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And as everyone knows, building healthy communities, the California Endowment is not going away, the partnership is not going away, but building healthy communities, that decade of funding into Del Norte has ended. And so we if we want to continue to exist, we need to keep figuring out ways that we can keep paying for our staffing and paying for everything that we need to.
I love this idea. I'm going to get a box.
I have a question, kind of biased to what I do, but yeah, this is a wonderful service. What have you been doing to get the word out about it? Or how has that process been?
Yes, well, coming and talking about it on the radio right now.
That's a start.
Thank you for having us. And Andrea Lankto is our food program coordinator, and I have to give a huge shout out to her. I'm not a techie person. She designed the whole website and worked through Square and figured out how to make it all work.
Wow.
And made it look beautiful. And she's also the one that I rely on to get the word out about whatever we're doing as far as the Food Council goes. So I know it's on Facebook. I know it's gone out to our newsletter recipients, and that's over 300. And other than that, I'm not sure. And we're relying heavily on word of mouth. We know that a lot of people tell their friends, and we're talking about it to everyone we know. But if you have any ideas on a good way to get the word out more.
I think Persephone's working toward writing a PSA about all of this.
I mean, I am in charge of our PSA. It does sound like something that could be recurring.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be a real audio program without a food subscription service.
I think so. No. And I think then we need to actually have one of these boxes here after the 1st of October and open it on the air.
I'll probably go order one after my next check.
I think I'm going to order one myself.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I'm one of those people who, basically lives on Social Security, right? And so, I'm the guy who, subsists basically on processed crap, and I don't want to do that.
And I both have bad legs and no cars, and I have to walk for groceries. So the idea of getting a box of delivery will both physically save me, and it seems like good stuff, not like processed stuff. As a little poor girl from Kentucky, the processed food thing, it's
kind of a way of life, yeah.
So you were talking about building healthy communities in that sort of iteration of it going away, and I'm familiar with that, and I think a lot of our listeners are as well. Is the endowment continuing to support the Food Council?
So we have gotten extensions. Building Healthy Communities officially was supposed to end in June of this year. And we very thankfully, we received an extension to carry us through the end of this year. Mm-hmm. And then we also received another extension. So we know that we can pay for our programs as they are running until probably March or April of next year. Mm-hmm. And I have been looking and applying frantically for all sorts of things for a long time now. And the future, we haven't gotten 100% answers from California Endowment. They're doing all of their own changes with staffing and reorganization of programs. And so I don't think anyone there really has a hard and clear answer, but we know the relationship is going to continue to exist. And so hopefully there'll be some clear answers by the end of the year on where we go with our relationship with California Endowment.
So I guess that leads me to this next question. So as I understand it, particularly about the food box thing, on the one hand, it's about giving people an opportunity to be able to, get access to quality food. And then you were saying, on the other hand, it's also a process for helping to develop local farming and local agriculture, sounds like kind of micro business like level. Mm-hmm. To what degree, if any, are y'all getting any help from community development and business development and things like that? Because it's not just about getting food to low income folks. It's also about helping to develop the economy of this community. Does that make sense?
Yes. I completely understand what you're saying. And there has been a lot of new partnerships that have gotten established even just in this year. So, for example, our connection with our fishing community, we received a grant at the beginning of the year that enabled us to buy tens of thousands of dollars of fish from our local commercial small-scale fleet of fishermen, and to get that fish out to food distribution programs. We gave a lot to the senior center. We got a lot out through our pantry, put a lot in bags for the Del Norte Mission Possible bag distributions that they do every week. The senior center, senior nutrition program in Smith River, some different programs with the Yurok tribe. So a lot of the fish that's caught right here from our harbor is getting out to the community. And that was something that when I started, I was shocked that we didn't have fish in our pantry when I could throw a rock and hit the ocean. So that's something I'm really excited about. And there is a partnership forming with, we recently partnered with the harbor to apply for a grant it's a grant through the federal government to help fishing communities and harbors. And so basically the application is that if we receive the grant, it would help fund a fisherman's co-op and a commercial fillet station at the harbor, which would allow commercial fishermen the ability to sell their fish more directly to the public. And we also, as far as Drea Langto, she's also on the board of the, I'm totally spacing what it's called. What's it called? You become a member, you have your business, and you become the Chamber of Commerce. Okay.
I was thinking the Illuminati. What's going on? That's funny.
We're regularly providing ideas to them.
All day long.
Yeah.
So she's on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and there's a regional economic development summit coming up. It's a Mendocino Humboldt Del Norte Economic Summit, and Drea and one of our partners in Humboldt, who is in charge of the Humboldt Food Policy Council, the coordinator, they are in charge of basically a food economy resiliency session of the Economic Development Summit. So there are those partnerships, trying to figure out how can we grow more producers in our county, and how can we support the ones that already exist.
Well, that's incredibly and tremendously important, because one of the real dangers is when, this is my opinion, one of the real dangers is when communities become, just overburdened with relying on tourism and service kind of industry jobs. And it really sounds like this is an opportunity to help to develop something that's homegrown for the people who actually live here.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other big worries, a huge worry for our county, is that we're so isolated and we're so remote. And that really came to a head during COVID, when I'm sure all of you went to the grocery store and the shelves are empty and the produce section looks like it hasn't been stocked for a long time. And so a big part of this also is our emergency preparedness and the resiliency, and having a robust, resilient food system right here in Del Norte. We really have very few producers. When you compare, we do a lot of work partnering with Humboldt, and there's been conversations about establishing a regional food hub and what that would look like. And when you compare Del Norte to Humboldt, Humboldt has the North Coast Growers Association. There's over 150 farmers that are registered with the North Coast Growers Association. Wow. And for us, for our box, we kind of rely on anyone we can that's producing here in Del Norte, and it's a handful. So we definitely could use more food being produced here, so that our local food system is not so reliant on food that has to come up through the grade or has to come down through roads that are closed because of fires. And we're really not very prepared here, if we became isolated because of a disaster, to have food to feed the community for the long term.
That's kind of scary. I guess I always assumed we were. And maybe that's only, that's a fallacy, because just I know the people who are out producing the food, like the Alexanders and like Jesse, and I just assumed, maybe because they just loomed larger in my mind, that we're a little farther along toward to being self-sufficient, that farther along than, say, someplace like San Francisco County, which is just the city or something, but I guess that's wrong, huh? Is that a false sense of security I have?
Yes, I would say that's a huge false sense of security. We have been working and partnering with the Office of Emergency Services. We actually established an MOU with the county to have a shared storage space where we could store extra food. And we're hoping to be able to do a food resiliency assessment that would be an annex to the emergency operations plan for the county.
Okay.
So that we can analyze how much food is in the county. If we were to get isolated at any time, how long would the food stores that we have, whether it's the food that restaurants have, whether it's the food banks, whether it's farms, doing an assessment of all the different food in the county, how long would it last our population? Would it last for a day? Would it last for 2 days? We also have a big cold storage is a huge need in this county and in Humboldt.
But yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the trailer for just Julie with the nutrition services at the district gave me a call and they had 14 pallets of frozen coming in on Friday.
And no place to put it?
Right.
Yeah.
But we actually, there was a trailer that the shipper in Smith River had available. So we got it taken care of.
Great.
But there's definitely, we need to be a lot better prepared than we are, and that's another one of our key objectives is making sure that we're prepared for emergencies in regards to food in this county.
I have a question. So, speaking of preparedness and tackling that false sense of security, if this interview reaches producers in the area, how would they be able to get a hold to maybe work with you?
Yes, I thank you for asking that, because with these harvest boxes, we actually have wanted to recruit backyard growers.
Yeah, I was wondering, Amanda.
For example, if you have a plum tree and you just don't know what to do with all your plums and you let them...
Would you like some blackberries?
Yeah.
We have blackberries, an apple tree, and a greenhouse. We could get in.
We could, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you could be one of our producers.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. Sorry.
No, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That we could get a lot more variety into these boxes if some backyard growers that have an apple tree and they want to go out and pick the apples. Or actually, I should mention that there's also going to be available fresh pressed cider from Gateway and their youth entrepreneurship program. So they'll be picking apples and pressing them into the cider, and that'll be an option to get.
Oh, Ron Cole's going to be
Yes.
pressing cider with the kids?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, is that his group?
Yeah, Gateway, right. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's all by hand.
So what about any concerns about, like, I mean, if you're getting backyard, you locally produce things, or backyard produce to add to these things, it's not going to have the government stamp, the USDA. Is that a concern? Is there a workaround around that? Do you take it on faith that you're getting good stuff from people because they grew it? It seems like there's just perhaps maybe not a lack of, and it doesn't even need to be a necessary regulation.
Can I add
but-
my 2 cents?
What's
I
that?
feel like as someone who is working in the greenhouse, you can tell when a vegetable's gone bad.
Sure.
But I
there's
guess if
just
it's coated in something.
for an institution that is going to distribute food, it's not so much about holding up and this is going good. This is good food. This is bad food. It's a CYA legal sort of thing as far as the USDA and regulation of food. Is that a concern for you at all?
So that brings up to me years ago when I was doing some schooling around agriculture and sustainable agriculture. We took a field trip to we're in Washington visiting a lot of different farmers, and one of the farmers was talking about all these new regulations that they had to follow as a producer, and I believe he was talking about the GAP certification, and his comment really resonated with me, and he said, "The food will be safe, we just won't have any." And so a lot of times with all these regulations that we have to follow to make sure everybody's safe, and I'm not saying that those aren't important because they are. But for me, a lot of times just knowing, for example, I get my eggs from a neighbor a couple of streets away. I can see the chickens. I have a great relationship with them. Mm-hmm. Those eggs don't have the special USDA stamp on them, but I find them a lot safer than eggs that I go get out of the store, and I have no idea where they've been, and no idea how many miles they've gone and where they've been stored.
Oh, yeah,
and how many times they've been washed.
And I'm not arguing that the food should all be regulated and have a stamp. Is that a concern? Is that something you had to work around?
So I did check with the health department, and we don't have to have a certain specific permit at this time. Okay. And so I think that we're okay for now.
No, for now, again,
So it seems
the scale of place seems to come in. We all know each other here.
KFUG collaboration can go on. We can start picking our broccoli leaves.
Yes, again,
broccoli
we've got a forest back there.
Organic
Yeah.
broccoli.
That is the thing that's growing the most.
Broccoli leaves.
Yeah,
Ooh.
because the full broccoli plant is edible.
It's what I've heard. I haven't attempted it yet.
You can eat the flowers, and you'll feel like a princess.
And just to let our listeners know, we're speaking with Amanda Hixson
Yes.
of the Del Norte and adjacent tribal lands Food Council. You're listening to Community Service on KFUG, Crescent City.
Thank you, Mike.
Smooth.
So, Amanda, my understanding is you've come here from elsewhere, and
What a way to put it.
So, how did you find your way here, and was it what you
Was your
expected?
journey treacherous?
It was. You know what? I did have a treacherous move here. Actually, my moving truck got stolen on the track. So all of my belongings for over 20 years got stolen and ransacked. So it was a treacherous move here.
Oh my God.
Where did it get stolen?
San Bernardino.
Okay,
No,
that makes sense. I guess.
Don't ever try to save money by staying at a Motel 6 in San Bernardino. It's a bad idea. You will not save money. You
Motel
will
6 is
lose-
high class in San Bernardino.
Oh, San Bernardino.
Anyway, that's kind of a side note there. I moved up here from Tucson, Arizona
Okay.
with my son, and I actually had heard I'd been to Crescent City before. That was part of, I think, a big piece of my interview when they were interviewing me was, do you know that Crescent City is not like a Southern California beach town? It does not feel the same way. And I was like, yes, I've been to Crescent City. I came here as a kid a lot with my uncle who lives outside of Medford. We'd come down and we'd see the redwoods. And so I was familiar with Crescent City. And I just found this job on Good Food Jobs. I have a long almost 2 decades of background in food work, all sorts of different aspects of food work, whether it's trying to have my own operation on a farm or looking at how the food we eat affects people's bodies, looking at the people's access to food, looking at how our growing practices affects the environment, all sorts of different food work. And that's what brought me here.
Wow. So, does Ben Zametta contribute stuff from the community garden there?
So Ben actually transitioned into a consulting role, a private consulting role back in January. So he's no longer with the Food Council,
Okay.
which is sad. But the good news is that Angela Gray is our new Food Forest Program Manager. And she is marvelously running the Food Forest. We just got done with our summer season of farm camps and youth programs and had a great summer season with getting a lot of kids over there into the food forest and learning about healthy eating and growing different sorts of vegetables.
That's a remarkable place, and it was seeing that come to fruition during the couple of YTAs. They were working on that in the summer, and it's gotten me all into hugel culture. I want to make a hugel.
That's
out
fun.
back.
I interviewed Ben once. I was like one of the only few people to attend a class and recorded that. And if things are going on again, maybe that's something to get back into.
Yeah. That's a neat place right there. I like having that in the community.
Yeah. So Amanda, one of the things that kind of brought the Food Council to my attention was that Food Council has asked the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors for some funding out of the money that the county will get from the American Recovery Plan. The county's getting, I think, somewhere around $5 million total, and you were there asking them for some funding. What is it that you were asking them for, and why is it needed?
Well, my ideal ask that I ran by Neil Lopez, the county administrator, first was for a building for infrastructure. We are in dire needs to expand our space. We are operating, the Pacific Pantry was put into what used to be an old janitor's closet in the Family Resource Center of the Redwoods. And
That's the space you get in there. That's you are primarily the reason that building is there when I drive by. It's the food council, but no, there's a lot of different things happening in the old Pacific Market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Family Resource Center of the Redwoods has, that's the nonprofit that we're a part of, and they have a plethora of different programs that support families and youth. They do tutoring, they do breastfeeding support, they do dad cafes, they do all sorts of things for the community. They have the playroom, and they have clothes available for people to come get in diapers, and the community room can be rented out, and the kitchen can be rented out. All sorts of things are happening in that building all the time. And then we have this space where the choice pantry is located, and then behind that there's kind of a storage area that we put excess. And we've just progressively been taking over more and more of the building, sticking chest freezer. There's a chest freezer by some of the cubicles right now that are storing extra fish. I've joked around about storing the pallet jack in my office, and joked around about where we could put a forklift, because we did just become an official food bank a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that may seem like that might just kind of brush by people like,
that's probably
okay, you're
a
a
big
food bank.
deal.
I thought you already were a food bank. But it's actually really, really rare for a county to have two TFAP, Emergency Food Assistance Program providers.
Really?
So that's a title that's given by the California Department of Social Services, that's under the USDA, and it's very, very rare for a county to have more than one TFAP provider.
So I'm just for people who don't know, like me, when you say TFAB, what does that mean?
So TFAP is USDA commodities. So if you've ever gone to a food bank and gotten, there's all sorts of, I think we used to just think of it as like lentils and rice, but there's a lot of different products that are USDA commodities. Our school district actually gets a lot of their products, their fruits and their peanut butter and various things for cheaper because it's a USDA commodity. So the Emergency Food Assistance Program is USDA commodities that food banks receive by contract with the federal government under their state agencies.
So the other one being RHS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So since our food programs, our food distribution programs have been growing exponentially, and we just became a new food bank. And really the definition of a food bank is that you should be supplying other eligible recipient agencies. So like Food for People, for example, they have 14 different pantries in Humboldt that they supply with food. So normally a food bank helps with all of the aggregation and the distribution and the storing, and then gets it out to all the different pantries throughout the county that are serving food to
Basically
people.
analogous to a wholesaler?
Yes, in a lot of ways. So if you think about that, you need warehouse space, and you're moving pallets around, and you don't want people to have to do all that by hand, which is what we're doing right now. My food distribution staff get really exhausted. It's a lot of like picking up boxes all day long and moving them from out of the back of the truck and then moving them inside into the room.
I'm a grant writer. Why am I having to do this, right? I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
So we really need expanded space. We also have all of the equipment to outfit a commercial kitchen. A commercial kitchen would be wonderful for the community. There's always people that are looking they want to start a food business and they need access to a commercial kitchen. So it'd be wonderful to have a commercial kitchen that people could rent out as a food incubator site. It'd also be great for us because there's a lot of packaging that we could do as a food bank with a commercial kitchen. And so we have a different grant allowed us to buy all the equipment that we need to put into a commercial kitchen. The sinks, the countertops, the stove, the refrigerator, the freezer, the floor mixer, everything. We just need a space.
So that's just all sitting someplace right now,
yes.
waiting for, okay.
And I will not say where.
Okay.
On the radio.
It's in your office.
In case someone from San Bernardino's listening.
It's in a moving van in San Bernardino. So I'm sorry. What other asks did you have then from the county?
So ideally, my first ask was that I was going to bring to them was, can we please use ARP money I need a 5,000 square foot building. It needs to have warehouse space. It needs to have some office space. It needs to have a walk-in freezer and a walk-in cooler.
Whoa.
It needs to have a commercial kitchen. And that's my wave the magic wand. This is what I really need.
Yeah.
And and that is too much of an ask. And I realized that. I really didn't think that it would be okay, but you don't get something if you don't ask for it.
Were you trying to haggle? Is that what you were going high and they come back?
Yeah, exactly. But actually, the really exciting thing about this is that I've been talking with Kimmy Scott, the manager of Office of Emergency Services, about the idea of a shared space. The county is also in dire need of a standalone emergency operations center, an EOC. And so my pitch to Kimmy, what we've talked about as a good idea, is that it could be both and feed two birds with one seed. An emergency operations center that is also our food bank operations center. We have the building would have a lot of the things that we both need, a forklift and warehouse space, and there's a lot of collaboration that could happen in such a space. So the ask that I made to the Board of Supervisors is for a feasibility study that would get such a project shovel ready, in that we could apply for the funding for such a project as a community funded project through the legislature, but all of the details have to be hashed out before you can apply for that. So my goal now is to give a proposal on my end to Neil that's saying this is what such a building would look like.
Wow.
And I probably will scale down a lot on what we're asking for, and go less for the completely ideal BMW type building.
Yeah, the best case. So are you working with OES to come up with this proposal, or is that something that you've officially come together to do?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to be consulting with Kimmy to because I really don't know a lot about EOCs and what they should have, and so I'm going to be talking with her about that.
As a person who does like the nonprofit, that seems really smart, partnering with OES. It kind of a lot more of an insurance policy that this will happen, as opposed to just being on your own and trying to come up with something like that. It seems like a smart sort of synergy kind of moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it would make a lot of sense. And I think it would also bring to the attention, like we were talking about earlier, I think a lot of people go around with a false sense of security. We all have to eat, and ideally every single day. But we all have this sense of security of like, oh, the food's just always there, and it'll always be there, and like we're fine, and someone will have a plan if the big earthquake happens and we're isolated. So I think us partnering with the EOC would also help bring the emergent need of having food stores and being prepared to the surface.
Right.
Yeah, well, a couple of things come to my mind. So when you're talking about what you see as the ideal situation, the ideal thing to have, is there a ballpark dollar figure to that?
And see, that's where a feasibility study would come in,
Okay.
because there's so many questions that I don't know the answer to. I don't know, does the county own land so could we put the building on a piece of land that the county already owns, or would we have to buy land? Is there a building that already exists that could just be retrofitted, and that would be a lot cheaper than building something new? Could a lot of the building just be like a warehouse kit, because it doesn't need insulation, it doesn't need windows, we just need a place that we can store and move around a bunch of food and other equipment? That price tag would be a lot different than a building that needs to be brand new and have insulation and windows and air conditioning and all those sorts of things. So there's too many questions for me to know a price figure on what it would cost, and the piece that I don't know what an EOC needs, and so if it's a combined building for both of us.
Yeah, and that's not your area of expertise, and it would be in some ways unreasonable to think that you would be able to come up with all of that on your own. I guess the thing that you said that really got me was, and I'm paraphrasing now, well, that might be too much of an ask, right? And it's like, and I'm saying, well, no, it actually isn't too much of an ask when you think about what it is you're describing for the community. We have a community that's highly dependent when it comes to nutrition. We have an incredibly isolated community that can be prone to being cut off from the rest of the world for any number of reasons and for any amount of time. You are newly part of becoming an actual food bank. You could actually be distributing food to other things and other entities and all this, and partnering with OES. I mean, of all the things that money could be spent on, that seems like a pretty good idea to me.
Yeah, right. How's this a hard sell, right?
Well, yeah, and
it makes me wonder, where's it going, Sue?
And contributing to the growing of our own locally sourced agriculture economy. Don't back off. Ask for all of it.
Yes, yeah.
So one thing I'll just say as an aside, I'd welcome you to write a letter to the Board of Supervisors supporting my proposal. But as an aside, in the defense of the county, $5 million seems like a lot of money to all of us that can't imagine having $5 million. But the county is in charge of a huge amount of services and things that they have to provide for the county. And $5 million for them is really a drop in the bucket. And it's going to go really quickly towards all the different needs that we have. The community has a lot of needs, and the county needs to use this money to be able to meet those needs in a lot of different ways. I completely understand that and realize that that they need to use this money in the best way possible, and that ours is not the only need by any means.
And I certainly understand that as well. And I also believe I understood from the discussion that took place that I was listening to is that they are, at least for now, earmarking a lot of it, if not the majority, towards the county jail, and then also for paying for staff salaries and things like that. And those are real needs. And, actually having things that can grow locally sourced business and help feed our local community, that's really important too. And it's not my decision. If it was, it would be a no-brainer. I'm saying I'd rather feed people than put them in jail. That's just my perspective.
We know where you stand.
If you agree with Mike, he's not the only one that can write a letter to the Board of Supervisors.
That's true. This sounds like a wonderful idea. You're tuned to KFUG Community Radio. We're speaking with Food Program Director of the Del Norte and Adjacent Lands Community Food Council, Amanda Hixson. So, Amanda, I can't imagine I know what doing community radio over the last year and a half has been like. What has it been like trying to do what you do with COVID happening in the community?
Well, it has been a whirlwind and a roller coaster, just like for everybody else. But interestingly enough, our numbers, as far as how many come to the pantry on a monthly basis, our numbers actually went down, which is surprising to a lot, because we all saw in the news these huge lines of cars at all the food banks throughout the nation. So that's a surprise. But what it says to me is that that a lot of the social safety nets that our government put into place, like increasing the amount of SNAP benefits that people were able to get, and the stimulus checks, and pandemic EBT if you have a school-age child, those actually helped people in the way that they're supposed to.
Wow.
Because a food bank or a food pantry, food distribution, that's supposed to be the last resort. We are not supposed to be, it's not our job to be feeding all of the hungry and food insecure people in the country. So these programs like CalFresh, those are supposed to be meeting people's needs, and and then we're supposed to be meeting a small portion of the need. We can't handle all of those needs. Food banks are not designed to do that. So to me, it has said, hey, this is working as it's supposed to be working. And there's still definitely a huge need, but our numbers decreased. But some of that also was because of fear, people not just really scared to even leave their houses. And so one thing that we program that is funded through the Community Development Block Grant funding that the city and the county joined together to pool the funding as the COVID response Community Development Block Grant funding is a mobile pantry. And we're really excited about that. We were hoping it was going to get launched over a month ago, just like everything. And this is where some of the COVID challenges are really coming to a head. The supply chains are all messed up because of COVID, whether because there's no staff to run the factories that build the shelves that go in the mobile market truck, or because the most recent is that they have a bunch of people that are sick with COVID, so they're probably going to have to shut down. So there's a lot of delays to our mobile market vehicle. But when it's here in the county, it's going to be so awesome. It actually, the design, the wrap on it is the mural that, if any of you have seen the Food Forest in the last few months, have you seen the mural on the shipping container?
No.
Take a drive by there, look at the shipping container. It's really cool. It's bright. It's got these radishes and vegetables, and it was painted by Jessica Slayton, and she had a kind of a mentor-y Lila Moore. They're two artists here from Del Norte County. And so we took that design, and that's going to be the wrap of our mobile market truck. That's nice. Which is going to be the Pacific North Fresh Mobile Market.
It's weird hearing a past student's name.
Right.
Layla Moore?
Yeah, exactly. I know Jessica Slayton as well. So what are you going to do with the mobile market?
So that is going to provide a lot more access to in the county, because right now our food distributions primarily they're at the Family Resource Center of the Redwoods, and transportation is a huge barrier for so many people in our county. And so if they can't get there, then they're not able to access the food. So the mobile market is going to be going around and having distributions in different areas of the county throughout the month. It'll be on a regular schedule. It'll go up to Gasky, it'll go down to Klamath, it'll go to Smith River, it'll be in Fort Dick.
Kind of like the people from Humboldt who kind of come up into Klamath. You mentioned them earlier. I forget the name of the organization.
Food for People.
That's it, Food for People, yes.
Exactly.
So that begs the question, what about Klamath? What does the Food Council do for? I mean, there was the series of articles that Jessica Sanar wrote, a couple of years ago now, I guess, about it just basically being a food desert down there. So, what does your organization do to alleviate that for the folks living down in Klamath Glen or Klamath proper?
So we are partnering. We have a great partnership with the Yurok Food Sovereignty Division. Taylor Thompson is managing that right now, and a really great partnership with the Nature's Rights Council and Ancestral Guard, Sammy Jensa, and the work that they're doing. Their goal, Ancestral Guard, Nature's Rights Council, is to have a garden at every house of every tribal citizen. And so we've done support with, Drea's helped with some support on different growing in different areas that they're growing in, and helping getting the boxes filled and planted. And then with Taylor, they really have their own amazing things going on down there, like really impressive. Taylor had the idea of a food village, and so the tribe has bought land around Margaret Keating Elementary School, and the food forest that we were managing at Margaret Keating is going to be part of this food village, and so there's a lot of work that's going on there internally, and we're just trying to figure out how we can support. So there was recently a meeting that Taylor organized with all the different food distribution, food partners that have any sort of role in Klamath, to try to coordinate so that we're not overlapping, and so that we're meeting the need. And so we will be going down and taking our mobile market down there. And the mobile market is going to have a lot of produce. It's really exciting. The side opens up, and there's baskets for 20 different types of produce. So it's going to be really pretty. And speaking of, another one of our main objectives is trying to shift eating habits and get people to eat healthier, have access to it, but also use healthier foods. And another thing that I'm pushing and supporting is a bill that is proposed in at the national level, the federal level. It's It's called a Healthy Future Students and Earth Act. And that's all about trying to get more plant-based, plant-forward meals into schools. School meal, there's over 30 million school meals served every day, so you can have a pretty big impact if you're getting more kids to eat more vegetables when they're younger. So anyone that wants to, there's a call-in day to call your legislatures and legislators. I always mix those words up. And support that bill. And the call-in day is September 22nd. So I encourage you all to support that bill.
Okay, a call-in day. Is this just something that activism has organized for this specific focus?
Yes. So there's a coalition of various groups that are supporting this bill, and they are organizing a specific call-in day on September 22nd.
All right. So Jared Huffman, be by the phone. So you're tuned to KFUG Community Radio, and we are speaking with Amanda Hixson from got to get the paper back here. Amanda Hixson, of course, the food program director of the Community Food Council for Del Norte and adjacent tribal lands. We're nearing an hour here. Thanks for coming in today. Is there anything that you wanted to get said that we didn't ask you specifically?
I don't think so. I think you all did a fantastic job asking me.
We're excellent pokers and prodders of folks.
We just talk. Yeah, that's it. I'm going on. I think we all will here probably after the show is go on and get a box coming or a bag
Absolutely.
coming. Yeah, that's wonderful.
So if people want to get more information, whether they, want to get involved in getting food, either, through the pantry or a box,
Smooth outro.
or if they can and want to be of help to the Food Council, how can they do that?
The best way would be to go to the one-stop shop, I would say, is go to our website, denatlefood.com. We have a Facebook page that you can, I think, get to from the website. We have a contact page that has the bios and phone numbers and emails for all of the different staff on the Food Council. So that's what I'd say. Go to denatlefood.com and you should be able to find everything from there. And if not, then you are welcome to call or email me and I can answer your questions or direct you to where you should go.
There you go.
And that also is the site for, it's right there at the top of the homepage, is for the Harvest Box program, and you can shop and look through the prices and what's in the boxes and choose specific things. I'm really excited about this.
Does the Bigfoot box include real pieces of Bigfoot?
I do like the thing down here.
Bigfoot jerky.
The Bigfoot is a localvore. That's
Yes.
great. That's fantastic.
And I would just remind everyone that we're cutting off subscriptions for that on September 17th.
Okay.
So get there quick.
Right. All right. Oh yeah, that's important.
Do it today.
Do it today. Exactly. denatlefood.com. Amanda, thank you so very much for coming in, and whenever you have something that you want to share with the community, something you want to say, give us let us know, and we'll get you back in here and do that. This is
We can only share what we know, and we'd love to share these excellent programs,
especially if it's about food.
Honestly, I'm with Mike. You're not asking too much. I might write a letter as well. I think food's a pretty good priority to have over prison, tourism, weed arguments.
Yeah, exactly. This is nice, and to be as self-sufficient
once
as
they
possible.
start growing weed down there, you can figure out a way to put those in some
that's all right.
That's the over 21 box.
That's the Amanda, thank you so very much.
Thank you all.
KFUG Community Radio, the right choice for family-friendly radio.